Hosea's chapters 4 verses 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Charaka, Kodash. Double honors to all the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. Salutes to all the sincere elect out there. We are back at you with another lesson. Lord willing, be edifying in the time of the apostates, agents, and sellouts, and Jacob's trouble. So just land back in off the live, our elders, our apostles live over there across the water, and something that some scoffer came up and said quite a few things, but this is what came to my mind. This precept, because that was what you call an old head, and there's no doubt in my mind he's been influenced. Either he's still in the Christian church or he's been influenced by the Christian church, ultimately by this system. He's under that that old what do you call it, that old there's a word for this, man. Old bottle. That's it. He's an old bottle, and the scripture doesn't tell us you can't put new wine in old bottles. So anyway, there was something that was said. I found it very interesting by Elder Apostle Tahar, which some things stay with you. But one word he said, one word was it's gonna be time, and I didn't have an idea, but the word that he said, I'm gonna read this because when I done the fact checking, this is what it led me back to. And you see, for those of you maybe feeling familiar with that face here on the right, Malcolm X. If you're familiar with that face, but let's read this. This is a quote of Malcolm X. It says, "The government has failed us. You can deny that anytime you live in the 20th century, 1940, 1964, you are walking around here singing, 'We shall overcome.' The government has failed us. This is part of what's wrong with you." He's talking to them 60s. In the time of the 60s, we had a lot of these civil rights, and you had Martin Luther King, right? The civil rights era, around the 60s, the 50s, mid 60s, early 70s, around them times. Pure marching, civil rights marching, right? And they've even made movies about it. And this is what Malcolm X is referring to. So this was a famous quote by him it was 1946, right? The speech, the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet, his famous speech. And this is what he was saying. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging. You can't sing up on freedom, but you can swing up on some freedom. Yep, Cassius Clay, otherwise known as Muhammad Ali, can sing, but singing didn't help him to become the heavyweight champion of the world. Swinging helped him become the heavyweight champion. Yeah. So we're gonna, obviously we're not influenced in any way by Malcolm X, but we are influenced by the scriptures, what the scriptures say, and we're gonna just take out the bones, right? Because we're about Yahushua's return, right? Wait thee upon me until I rise up to the prayer. And his attitude was Malcolm X's attitude was by any means necessary, and really here he's talking carnally, but there's scriptures that actually we can filter, and we can as we do, we're going to filter everything through the scriptures. Now, this is a famous quote, but Elder Apostle Tahar quoted it because he was dealing with that old bottle. When brothers have seen the videos, we know them old bottles, man. There's nothing you can do with them, right? There's nothing you can do with them old bottles. But back to what we just read here, because it's very, very true. Hosea chapters 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Yep. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee that doubt. Because when you get into a little bit of it with the Levites, right? The Levites was the priest, because what he says there, I will also reject thee that thou shalt be no priest to me. Yeah, the Levites, and when you get into it, Genesis 49 around 28, the Levites concerning the jobs of the priest, and they had the responsibility, aka the one that was responsible. We had Moses, and then you had his brother. His brother's name was, so you had Moses, and you had his brother, which Moses was a priest too in days, and then you had Aaron. He was given the responsibility of being the priest, and up to this day you have the Levites. Right, when you get into the name, means join unto me, and Levi in the Hebrew means lawyer. So they had the responsibility of being the priest of our nations, right, concerning the sacrifices, the high holy days. And lawyer is a person that knows the rules of the law, right, which are the Haitians today, right, the Haitians today. But today we now have Yahushua as our once and for all sacrifice, right, once and for all time, Yahushua. So he made the sacrifices. In Hebrews it goes into that, for once and for all. Yahushua was the lamb that sacrificed his blood and gave it up for his people once and for all. But the Levites were persons that were supposed to keep the laws, the sacrifices, and they knew the laws, right, concerning the nations. The high priests of our nations, concerning the sacrifices, once again, were the high holy days, right, and responsible of keeping the laws today, right. Those were the Levites, and they're all caught up now with the the Haitians are still the Lord's people. They're still the Lord's people, but now going off, right, being into voodoo, right. You've got all different types of names for it, right. The voodoo, which they got from the Hamites, and in Benin, West Africa, right, is a hotbed, right, of voodoo, right, which the Levites are all up in that, right, going completely off. So that's why when you read here, right, the Hosea 4 and verse 6, my people are destroyed, right. Right now, the Haitians over there, right, they're on the left-hand side now of the Most High doing voodoo. Right, that's their god, that's their idol, which we touched a little bit on that in this week on the highways and the byways, about the idol worshipping, that they see not, hear not, right? They're deaf, dumb, and blind. There's nothing they can do. But the Haitians today are caught up in that voodoo, worshipping their voodoo god, right? So they are definitely destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou have rejected the Most High, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt no more priest to me, right? That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law, right? And that's right. They've definitely forgotten the law. They've put the law behind them. The Haitians, right? Lawyer, right? Or joined unto me. But Levi means lawyer in Hebrew, and they're supposed to be joined with to the Most High, right? The meaning or their character, joint to me, right? So they represented the priest, but now they're going off. So the Most High says that, rejected thee, thou shalt no more be priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. Yeah, and thy children, if you remember the times of the that massive earthquake, right? Which some say was influenced by the the harp, right? Because we know that the devil, the whole world has been given unto the hand of the wicked, and could be able to have that weather manipulation thing. I think it was around 2009 was the around 2009 was that earthquake, and the people, when you heard about them, they was having all kinds of things taking place. Red Cross was supposed to go over there and help them, and we heard all kinds of things what Red Cross was doing, right? When he was doing a little bit of research and fact checking what they were doing, and children was going missing, right? And we know about the all different types of trafficking. You got the child trafficking, you got the organ trafficking, you got all different types of trafficking that took place, right? When you do your research on it. So the Mosai, and that took place, and the Mosai allowed it to take place, and many people were deleted, right? Hence that tornado or hurricane or earthquake was because the Mosai rejected them. He turned his back on them. Up to this day, they're still suffering from the being rebelling from the slavery, the slave traders, and also you had that what's his name again? He's gonna come to me. The revolutionist, Toussaint Louverture, the revolutionist that rebelled, right? He led the rebellion, and he put up a good fight. They ended up, he put up a massive, brilliant fight. I've done videos on it, and fought off the French until he could no more fight them off. But he formed a treaty with them. I suppose he got old or whatever the case may be. Prophecy had to be fulfilled, right? Because they had to go into slavery just like all the other nations. He fought a good fight, but they invited him over to France, lured him into some kind of, saying they were going to have a feast or some kind of treaty, and put him in one of their deepest dungeons. The French people then put him in one of their deepest dungeons and starved him to death. Right? You can do some fact checking and research on that. I could do a future video also on that again. And they deleted him that way, starved him to death. Toussaint Louverture, if I'm pronouncing the name right, right? The Haitian revolutionists, and that's documented fact. But up to this day, they're still suffering from that, what took place, because they still have to pay for that rebellion, compensation, if you like, from that from not being slaves or not giving in to being a slave. Up to this day, they're still suffering the consequences of that rebellion, right? That led them, that the fight that they kept up against the French. But Lord willing, I'll get into that. Let's get back on point here. So I was just making this point here, yeah. It is time, because that old bottle that came up, and that's just what he was, man. He was influenced by Christianity, this world, his woman, all the women. He had a very feminine spirit on him, and he was talking about, are you gonna keep up this attitude of hating the white man? Something to that effect he was saying. You're gonna keep up this attitude of hating the white man, and we shouldn't hate. And another thing, he could be a tear. But anyway, whether he was a tear or not, whether he was a literal tear, a physical tear, he was definitely a spiritual tear, and an old bottle. Let me just say that. So that's what we contend with to this very day. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. Right? They have rejected Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Right? So that's up to this very day. Once again, what the Haitians example today, right? Into all the voodoo, Santa Maria, all the different types of voodoo. Also their brothers as well, the Simeonites, caught up in the voodoo, the different types of voodoo, which is worshipping and being separated from our God, right? Worshipping the creation and not the creator. It's very similar with the so-called Native American Indians the Reubenites and the Gadites been rejected because they worship their creation and not the Creator. Seeing that thou hast forgotten the law, yep, the ultimate ones what were responsible for the law, Moses and his who had a higher responsibility, which was his brother Aaron, right? Which Aaron was a high priest, right? And it was passed down also to his offspring, right? Which were to carry on the priestly duties, right? And the nation once again of the Haitians had that responsibility, which they up to this day they're described for a lack of knowledge. The Most High rejected them. So another example here too, a couple of precepts the point is already made, because that's the point right there. Right? Oh, the point is now we ain't gonna come out swinging, but there's something else we are gonna be doing, right? And we definitely stopped singing, right? In those days in the civil rights era. That's what Malcolm X was referring to. Who are you singing? Who are you singing about? We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Where is that protesting that has got anybody? Even Malcolm X was ended up getting deleted. We know what happened to Martin Luther King. We know what happened to him. But Malcolm X was deleted, assassinated also, right, by his own people. When you get into it, insiders. And so we got here Jeremiah 18. I think it might have been quoted or it might have been brought out, but I'm going to get into a little bit for the sake of this video. Jeremiah chapters 18 and start from 15. It says, because my people have forgotten me, right? That's the precept to what we just read. They have burned incense to vanity. Yep, we went into that once again. A lot about vanity is in Isaiah. It's a beautiful actually chapter, the whole chapter, Isaiah 44. And that could be a future video too, right? And they have burned incense to vanity, right? A false god, vanity. And they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient path. Yeah. Jeremiah 6 and 16 says that we want to get back, bring up the old path, because that is where the blessings are. The old path, which was the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. And when we say law, statutes, and the commandments, we mean law, statutes, and the commandments, but in a sincere way. And we're going to have the new hearts in the kingdom. That's the new covenant. We're going to have the new covenant, which are the fleshly hearts in the kingdom, where we'll be able to keep all of them. That's why we say the laws, the statutes, and the commandments in its totality, in its fullness in the kingdom, we'll be able to keep them. And walk the walk and talk the talk. Right now, we keep what we can. They have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient path to walk in paths in a way not cast up. Yep. So the time of Jeremiah, the young man Jeremiah was given that responsibility, and he took it. He took the baton, and it was very when you visualize it and you get the sense of his assignment, Jeremiah's young man assignment. As a young man, his assignment, when you get the sense of it, he was very eager and very passionate, and he was looking forward to it, Jeremiah. But when you read on in 16, it says of Jeremiah 18, it says, to make their lands desolate. This is what he's saying now. After he dealt with his people, let me read 15 again. Because my people have forgotten me, they have burnt incense to vanity, and they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient path to walk in paths in the way not cast up. Actually, yeah, that's the right one. I'm on the right track there. Matter of fact, yep, I'm in the right one. Jeremiah 18. Jeremiah chapters 18. Yep. I'm starting the right one. That's we're on point. And read down. To make their lands desolate and their perpetual hissing. Yeah. This is what they're saying. This is what's be taking place in the time of Jeremiah. Right? Everyone that passeth thereby shall be astonished, and wag his head. I will scatter them as with an east wind before the enemy. I will show them the back. Right? This is their God. This is how he be feeling. Right? About his people. I will show them the back and not the face in the day of their calamity. Then said they, come. Right? Yeah, this is the plan. Right? Because this is Jeremiah. They're making a scheme, a plan. Right? They said, they, come and let us devise devices against Jeremiah. You see what we had to deal with then, but we say then, right? When we first came out, and even when you look at a lot of the classics of our elders get going in, our big brothers and our elders and apostles going in, right? You got the sense that, yeah, there's a whole heap of old bottles that they have to deal with, it, right? We see it with our own eyes, and we see what Jeremiah had to contend with also. And let us devise devices against Jeremiah, for the law shall not perish from the priests. Right? We know it has. Right? That wasn't the idea, but that's exactly what happened. Once again, what happened with Levi, the law keepers, lawyer, right? Or law supposed to keep the laws and the statutes and the commandments and the sacrifices, the high holy days, and be an example to the people. Now they're being an example to the people in wickedness, the Haitians today. Right? Which means join unto me. But what did the Most High done say? The Most High say? He showed them the back. He showed them the back. I'm going to read it again. I will scatter them as with, in 17, as with an east wind before the enemy. I will show them the back. Right? This is why they're over there suffering up to this day, over there in Haiti. Right? And once again with the that massive earthquake that took place. Oh, I didn't mention it. The little children as well was eating dun cakes. And that's scriptural too. Making dun cakes or mud cakes from water and mud. And Ezekiel actually had to do something very similar, as we know. Right? In Ezekiel 4 and 12. Right? Them cakes what he had to bake. Right? From human dung. But anyway, when you get into it, you know, he didn't have to deal with the human dung, but it was an example of what up to this day the young children are doing. They actually were doing that, making not done, but mud and water and eating it as cakes. So that's an example of the Most High turning their back upon them, showing him his back and not the face. In the day of their calamity. Then said they, come and let us devise devices against Jeremiah, a prophet, and a very revered prophet at that. That's why we even up to this day we use Jeremiah as a prime example of what he had to contend with the people. Ezekiel talks about scorpions and vipers. That's the people, right? Ezekiel had a very similar assignment, a challenge also. We made mention of Ezekiel with the cakes, right? So they planned devices against Jeremiah, for the law shall not perish from the priests, nor counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophets. Yep, the prophets. And yeah, there were some very powerful prophets that the Most High gave them the responsibility, right? He was given the responsibility for prophesying, right, and teaching the laws. Hence why we have them back here once again now. Once again, our elders and apostles, right? Strong examples. Yeah? The priests, nor counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophets. Come and let us smite with him with the tongue, and let us not give heed to any of his words. So they were scheming against Jeremiah and the prophets. They use him as an example, saying, oh man, we got to get them because we don't want to hear no more about this, right? The priestly duties, we don't want to hear no more prophesying, man. Let's scheme up against him, right? This is them talking, right? 19. Give heed to me, O Lord, and hearken to the voice of them that contend with me. This here is Jeremiah. Right? They were scheming, and Jeremiah was telling the Most High that he's aware of their scheming, and he's giving up like a prayer, right? Saying, "Give heed to me." Right? Because these people these people are wicked, man. He's praying, "Oh Lord, and hearken to the voice of them that contend with me." Right? And in verse 18, they're contending. He's saying, "This is what they're trying to do." Right? They plan devices and scheming against me. Right? "Give heed to me, O Lord, and hearken to the voice of them that contend with me. Shall evil be recompensed for good?" That's his question. "For they have digged a pit for my soul." Right, and when you get into it a little bit more, man, he had some all kinds of things that they was doing with Jeremiah, all kinds of things, right, in the pits and stuff like that. "Jeremiah, that he stood before thee to speak good to them," this is what he's saying, "and to turn away thy wrath from them." So he's saying, look, I'm coming here with good intentions. This is Jeremiah. I've come here, right? He's saying to the Most High, I've come here with good intentions, and this is what they this is how they'll get treated. I stood before thee to speak good to them, and turn away thy wrath from them. Right? And this is what they reward me with. "Therefore deliver up their children to the famine." Now, the prayer has now turned into a curse upon them. His plea to the Most High, Jeremiah's plea to the Most High, has now turned around and he's putting curses on them. See, but he was so enthusiastic to help them at first, but when he saw their plans and their schemes, he now turns into a curse. So he's putting a curse on them. "Therefore deliver up their children to the famine, and pour out their blood to the force of the sword, and let their wives be bereaved." Man, this is a heavy one as well. "Of their children." Right? Did it come into effect? We mentioned Haiti. We mentioned also the Dominica, Haiti and Dominica, right? In Santa Maria, voodoo, and poverty, and a lot of their women in the Dominican Republic. A lot of them are massive, selling their salt, selling their bodies on the streets. So we know this came into fruition, and it's still in effect up to this very day. Yeah, their wives, because Simeon and Levi are brothers, which are the Haitians and the Dominicans today, right? That's them two brothers, which are that's their people. That's them as a people, right? And so they bereaved of their children, their wives be bereaved of their children, and be widows, and let their men be put to death. Yep, it happened in slavery, and and also you had divide and conquer. The two brothers had to be separated too. When you get into it, Simeon and Levi are instruments of violence. They have to be separated. So that's exactly what happened. Be widows, and let their men be put to shame. Yep, up to this day, poverty, right, and caught up in all kind of wickedness. Right, let their young men be slain by the sword in battle. Yep, that's what's happened. Still happening. Let a cry be heard from their houses, and when they shall bring a troop suddenly upon them, for they have digged a pit to take me, and hid snares for my feet. Right? So they were scheming against the Most High, or the prophet of the Most High, Jeremiah, and he got way of it. Jeremiah got way of it, and he put up a curse upon them for their scheme that they was trying to scheme. And not just Jeremiah, many other prophets too, they came against. And we know what they tried with Yahushua when he was walking the earth. But through his elect, we can say, through our prophets, and ultimately Yahushua, through his stripes, we are healed. Because once again, he gave up the sacrifice. He was the ultimate high priest. Yahushua was the ultimate high priest that sacrificed the lamb, his body, for once and for all, for our salvation. And that I could get into that too as a future video, which through him we now lived. But that's really the point, really and truly. Anyway, so this is Jeremiah putting up a curse upon the wicked, right? That came against him, right? The 2/3, and why I brought this up was because what the contention that took place, which the elders and the apostles are always happy, right? Because iron be sharper than iron, and it's the example. That's why the reason why Jeremiah felt the way he did, the reason why we feel the way we do, and we don't. Sometimes you say, oh, the 2/3, but never. That's why we don't care when we hear about all these things taking place to the 2/3, right? The Trayvon Martins, the George Floyds, and just to mention a few, right? What must be going on, in over there in the Americas, and over here too. What's that guy, Mark Duncan? They're the 2/3, man, that was coming against the prophets. Right, so yeah, that's the curses that they're dealing with. The curses, the prophets had a heavy responsibility, and they came to the conclusion that there's no helping these people. I said it. I think I said it. The weekend just gone, Saturday. You can lead a donkey to the well or a mule to the well, but you can't make him drink. So we may have at first, when we first got the truth, we may have had the intentions, good intentions, with some people that we may have knew, even some of our family, but we came to the same conclusion. You can lead a donkey to the well or a mule to the well, but you can't force them to drink. And this truth, as we know, this truth is only for the elect. It's only for a select few. Right? Anyway, last one. Yet, Lord, thou knowest all their counsel against me to slay me. Forgive not their iniquity, neither blot out their sin for thy sight, but let them be overthrown before thee. Deal thus with them in the time of thine anger. And we know that's what's going to happen. 2/3 have to be cut off. So, yeah, man, it's from that word, that one phrase, that one potent phrase, which there are videos within videos. That phrase, it's time to stop singing and start swinging. You can sing up on freedom, but you can't sing up on freedom. Right, the song that they were singing, We Shall Overcome, but you can swing up on some freedom. Now, referring to Cassius Clay, referring to Muhammad Ali, which, being a heavyweight champion of the world, gave him some privileges. But even he, they got him and they locked him up for not wanting to join the war over there in the Vietnamese. He said, "What is there any No, there's no Vietnamese ever called me the N-word." That's what he said, Muhammad Ali, in his time. But he was he had some more you might say, a platform, and he had some things to say. But even him, they ended up slipping him a pill, and he eventually got punch drunk. Some people say punch drunk, or it was Parkinson's, and they still shut him up anyway. So even that what Malcolm X was referring to, yeah, you can keep swinging. You get some freedom in swinging, being a heavyweight champion of the world, but even that is limited. Even that is limited. So that quote has some truth in it, but yeah, the truth that comes in that is when we preach now and in the kingdom, or even on this side. Let me just end off with this because this was brought out as well. Ezekiel 25:14, it says, "And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel." Right, so that's going to be the time of swinging. When we get the 144,000, King David and Yehoshua, who's going to lead the charge, right? The swinging's going to be the lasers, right? The lasers, the angels, right? With and the 144,000 with the ability to manipulate the elements, or whatever you choose, how you want to bring however you want to bring it. 144,000 men, superheroes, endowed with spiritual power. However you want to bring your swinging, that's how you're going to bring your swinging. Because then them days of singing done. And all them singers, right? Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. What happened to them? They ended up getting lumped up, smacked up, and mashed up, and locked up. And as the saying goes, all heroes end up in the graveyard. I'm saying it in English. You know, the Benjamin saying. All heroes end up in the funeral, in the graves. That's where the heroes are now, with a placard saying, from this date to that date, he fought for this country, and now that's where he is now, in the grave with a massive placard over there, a tombstone to say what he did. But where did it get him? Where did the fighting get him? Where did the marching get him? Where did the protesting get him? Where did being in the army get him? In the grave, right? Deleted, in other words. But the swinging gonna start when Yahushua return. So that's why we wait upon the Lord, because he's going to rise up to the prey. Once again, he's going to lead the charge. Ezekiel 25 and 14 again. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom, and by the hand of my people, Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger, because it's according to the Yahushai's anger. He's going to lead the charge, and we under him. Right? And King David is under him. We're on, and the 144,000 under King David, and the great crowd are under the 144,000. The 144,000 will be the governing body, right? Led by Yahushua once again, according to the Most High's anger, right? And Yahushua is under the Most High, according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith Yahweh thy power. So that's how we're going to be swinging. That's how the 144,000 are going to come out swinging. Singing's not got anybody anyway. So the Wadayo Bashimashah once again. Yeah, the old bottles, man, they just have to be deleted, man. They're going to come back in their right mind, right? You saw the old bottle on the live on Saturday saying his 2 cents, which made no sense because he's caught up once again in the Babylon juice. But them days are over, man, you know. All old bottles going to be deleted once and for all. Come back with their heads down. So the Wadayo Bashimashah, vengeance will be coming upon the people, right? Upon these people via the Most High's people, right? And that's the end of that, man. That's the end of that, right? I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people, Israel. The Wadayo Bashimashah, Karla Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kwadash. To the next one.